Asante sana, PS Weru and my colleagues from the ministry and our partners from the private sector. Thank you very much for joining us. This press conference is held pursuant to the press briefing by the Minister for Health on Friday on the matters around dealing with COVID and COVID-19. The government recognizes that the health crisis that was created by what we are calling the fourth wave, there are people who could have been potential industrialists, there are people who could have been suppliers, there were entrepreneurs, could be transporters, and customers. So this is really sad for the country. We therefore need to emphasize, especially in the context and to our colleagues in the business community, we must avoid closed spaces and prolonged time together. The simple measures of wearing masks, keeping distance, and limiting time spent together as much as possible could help reduce the chances of spreading the virus, whether you are vaccinated or not. We therefore need to make sure we do not drop our guard as we have tended to. We admit and recognize this has been going for a long time, and it could go for another long time. We do not know when it will end because new variants of COVID are being discovered every day by our health researchers. So today I want to speak to our partners and stakeholders in industry and trade. The last 1 year and 4 months have been very, very challenging for us. We have been seriously affected and our output, your output, was curtailed on account of the measures that were employed by the government to mitigate against the COVID-19 pandemic. As I've said, it is very likely that COVID will stay with us for an indeterminable future. Together, we prepared with the sector the guidelines for business operations during COVID. I know I have a hard copy of the same, but this is a document for members of the press. We prepared these guidelines together with the business community last year in June. We revised them and reissued them in November. And these guidelines that cover all the different sectors of business, from markets to factories, from retail shops to barbers and salons. All of these guidelines, they provide for safe operations of businesses in compliance with the protocols that were issued by the Ministry of Health, and ensure that we can keep businesses open as long as possible, so long as these guidelines are followed and adhered to. And therefore, our appeal to the business community that is gathered with us is to ensure that their members, their customers, their stakeholders closely implement the guidelines. As I've mentioned, these guidelines are available in the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development website under the resources section, the COVID-19 intervention. And each stakeholder is invited to download their sectional protocols because they cover all the different sectors of enterprise within the country, from pubs and restaurants, I've mentioned, to markets, to factories, to warehouses. All the different sectors have. Implicit and within all these protocols is the need for individual responsibility. It is the need for business owners to put in place measures to ensure that there is no crowding, even if it is the market. That there is spaces for hygiene, for cleaning hands, that there is demand for wearing masks by all the customers as well as all the operators in these establishments. Our action to mitigate the spread of the pandemic within the business environment is therefore very, very important and is pivoted on adherence to these laid down protocols. If we keep the surge of infections under control by observing these containment measures, we shall be able to continue with our business operations, and we shall also save on medical expenses and loss of man-hours. Non-adherence is likely to lead to spread of the virus, hence necessitating stringent measures that will further curtail business operations. Last year, this business sector gave undertaking to work with their members to adhere to these measures. Today, we renew our commitment to work together to keep our economy on the mend despite the very difficult situation we find ourselves in. Our SMEs are a critical focus in this season, particularly increasing the chances of sustained economic activity in order to allow them to make the required rebound. The manufacturing sector is also very committed to supplying as required the medical products and supplies used in the management of COVID-19 cases. So I want to thank our business fraternity who responded to government call to produce PPEs, produce masks, hand washing stations, ventilators, oxygen, hygiene products and masks, and some are even exporting to our own neighboring countries. I am really very proud of the innovations and the response of the Kenyan business community. I want to thank the business management organizations who have stood behind our ministry during this pandemic, and they have taken leadership in educating their members as we all navigated this fairly uncharted territory. But because we are still living within COVID, our appeal to us is to not drop the guard and to continue with that amount of vigilance and education. These guidelines are also not stuck in time. If there are ideas to improve on them and to amend them, we are open to proposals, and we will continue to receive them from yourself. So our message today is we're still living in COVID times. We need to work hard to ensure that we can forestall further crises in the country, and therefore we all need to be part of the solution. I thank you so much, and that is our message to our business leaders and to the rest of the country. Asante sana. I know this might be an ambush, but maybe I'll invite a few of them to speak to this message, to give their undertaking. And Bwana Mutahi, the president of the SME Alliance, I'll give you that opportunity.
Thank you, Madam CS, and the government officers with us, to the members of the press. When COVID came to this country, we had a meeting with the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, and we undertook to fight COVID among ourselves. We have been able to give information to the traders, especially at the CBD, whereby all protocols have to be observed. But of late, you realize that COVID is almost becoming stronger than what we have. But again, this morning, we want to undertake that to go back to where we operate from. And as the president of MSME Alliance of Kenya, together with our partners in different business sectors, we want to urge our people that COVID is real. We want to go back and put again the energy that we had last year, and the media being our partners. Please, let's all pass the message that COVID is not forgiving anybody. Let's work as a team, and we'll be able to defeat it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, may I also invite the chair of the Private Sector Alliance to make remarks on behalf of the more formal sector.
Cabinet Secretary Betty, PS Johnson Weru, and CS Kaberia and Olande, all members of the community here with us, including the Fourth Estate. Good morning. I just stand here as the chairperson of KEPSA to really reiterate what Betty Minor has said. We understand this pandemic, like they say, is very unforgiving. But at the end of the day, we do have to continue doing business. We have worked with government since, the first case in March of 2020. To be honest, as the Private Sector Alliance, we were busy almost every day trying to make sure protocols are there, trying to make sure business continues, because we have to feed ourselves as much as we are looking for to be healthy. So it's a very fine balance between health and actually getting the economy running. And we'd just like to say, as the community, we are going to continue to support and work with government. And to our membership, really, we are turning around and saying, let us also take this matter in our hands. We don't have to be policed to actually be able to police ourselves. We know what is important. We have the guidelines, like you heard from the CS. We've worked on them together. So we just wanted to ask all our members to turn around and let us, not do the crowding spaces. Let's do what is supposed to be done. And for the bigger organizations that are able, we would also like to appeal for them to see what they can do to support the MSMEs that are there. We did give a lot of washing stations, but maybe water is not available. Anybody around who can also support in those areas, we'd also like to appeal to those to see what we can support, because Kenya is our country together. For those, sometimes it's your turn, you have it, and sometimes you don't. So for me, it's just to commit to the CS and to the whole of Kenya that as private sector, we are going to continue with government to make sure that we do our bit as private sector to ensure we have a healthy, but also a healthy economy and also a healthy populace. And just to mention that we have also committed to work hand in hand, and we'd like to thank the government where they've allowed private sector to work hand in hand with them to actually buy vaccines. And we currently have committed to 1 million vaccines as private sector, where we are working with government, where they will purchase on our behalf. And we have also committed to help them roll out and sort of build our herd immunity. Because the faster we get to herd immunity, the faster we'll be able to open up our economy and do what we really want to do, which is to do business. So as Asanteni Sana government, we continue to commit, and I'm sure this is just the beginning. 1 million doses might not be enough. We are willing, as private sector, to continue to do it. So thank you very much, and you have our commitment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, members of the press, and we appreciate your coming and joining us this morning.
Yeah, just one question, if you don't mind, Madam CS. We just wanted to know, because of the impact and all that the private sector is facing and all that, is there any incentive that the government should provide in these tough times? I want your reaction and reaction from the private sector in line with that.
Thank you. The measures that government put in place last year to support business still in force. For instance, the preferential procurement for locally available products, we issued a master roll in June last year, and that is currently undergoing revision, but it is in force. The support that was given for credit enhancement, and especially the credit guarantee scheme, has been, that has been launched, and it is in force. It is operating through several banks. What I'm also glad to note is that many of those banks have also expanded their facilities of financial support. The Public Works program that supports young people, Kazi Mtani, is still running, and that also supports especially small businesses in boosting demand for their products. We would like to do more, but it is impossible to do more because of the fiscal space that we are in. But those measures that were put in last year, I think it's safe just for the tax waivers, the tax forgiveness, those were reversed at the beginning of the year, but everything else is still in force. Thank you.
The reaction from the sector.
At the beginning of your speech, you said just how the economy has been worse in the economic downturn. Could you specifically talk about it and give us more insights in relation to that? And also, what impact are we likely to see in relation to the down period in terms of business activity in the country? Thank you.
Thank you. I think what I mentioned is this, and I think the numbers are out there. There was constrained economic activity as a result of COVID. That's what that is clear. We have, slowly started to bounce back, and we would like to continue to keep the economy running, which is why we are emphasizing the need to adhere to these measures so that more stringent closures are not necessitated. The more we see, and I think the more we see other variants are coming in, we're really never going to be out of the woods globally unless we have rollout and massive vaccination so that you can have economic activity without a lot of disruption. Rollout of vaccines has been challenging, and especially in Africa. I am glad, and you have also reported that the government has ordered more than 30 million doses of vaccines into the country, and we expect that in August. But until then, and until the science is out, the scientists are all converge on how many boosters you might need.
Pay as you earn, the reduction in the corporate taxes, and various others that carried us through to the end of the year. Of course, we are cognizant to the fact that it's not an empty, there's a limit to how much government can give us. But the incentive right now that the government is offering us is to self-police. Instead of closing down the economy, which perhaps, if you look at the numbers, this is the highest we've ever been. It would actually make logical sense to close it. But what they're offering us is a chance to manage ourselves and let the economy keep running. To me, that is one of the largest incentives we could have. Of course, the other incentive was where they're allowing us to also partner with them to buy, to help them buy the vaccines. So the incentive for us that we really appreciate and we want to appeal to everybody is let us follow the business protocols that have been given out, and the personal ones to make sure that we don't congest our hospitals, continue to lose lives, or head to what could be an inevitable lockdown. So for us, that is our appeal as private sector.
Thank you very much.